listen to this podcast, or I'll gut you.
Welcome back, Horror Hounds, to Ghostman and Rivera's Horror Show podcast.
I'm Mike Ghostman Pickle.
And I'm James Rivera.
Yeah, today we have a special guest with us. It's Sarah Garcia, also known as Moon Girl. She's an intuitive medium.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm good, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Pickle and Mr. James.
How do you feel about coming out of lockdown, or do you feel like it's ending already?
Oh, are you talking about the virus?
Yeah. Is it all?
I have many thoughts on that. And I've actually, it's kind of funny you say talk about that. Back in February, I was doing a video about aquariums because it was aqua season, and I have it on my YouTube. And through the whole thing, I kept hearing the song "We Are the World," and I wasn't gonna say anything, but I felt the spirit keep like bugging me. And then I was like, fine, I'm gonna say it because my phone's gonna die. I was like, I feel like a group of countries or cities are gonna come together for the greater good to work on something that's going to shake up the world. And then March, Rona. So I knew something was coming. I didn't know what it was.
Oh, okay.
And as far as this, I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but there will definitely be better days to come, for sure, at least by the end of the year.
You've been productive during the lockdown?
You know what? I stick to myself, so it wasn't a huge, I'm not really like a party girl, so it didn't do a big number on me in that sense. But yeah, I've been trying to keep productive, for sure.
Okay.
So you are an intuitive medium. What exactly is an intuitive medium?
It's when you can read things intuitively, you just feel it. But then there's like empath when you emotionally feel someone's. So it's a little bit different, but I'm an empath as well. But intuitive mediums, you just know. You intuitively know. You get messages. But I get messages in different forms. Sometimes through I smell something, like I smell a smell out of nowhere, or I physically see the formation, or I see pictures that just kind of happen, or I hear something. But like I also read, when I do my tarot cards, I read it intuitively. Like not only do I tell you what the card means and in the placement, but what I feel, and then that's how I give you the reading as well.
So they come in the form of thoughts, basically, a lot of the time.
They in a bunch of different ways, yeah.
Well, how old were you when you first realized you had this, or what was your first, like, maybe say experience?
Okay, that I remember, because I've always felt this stuff. My cousin and I, we were really young. We were probably like about, like 6, 7. We were playing outside and we found some toys, and they were kind of like by a trash, like a big trash thing. And like someone left them there who didn't want to throw them away. So we took them, and I remember being very scared of the one I got. I could have sworn it would like talk to me, like without moving its mouth, like telepathically. And I got so scared of that thing and I threw it away. And then I get older, I find out everything leaves an imprint. And I think that was what really just got me. But I would have a lot of sleep paralysis, which is extremely scary. And of course I would tell my parents about it, and they're like, no, coming from Hispanic, family, they're like, no, you're just dreaming, or, don't say those things and whatnot. Until I think it was just undisputed when I was about 14 or 13. There was just no way. This was like the worst one. Still to this day, there was something, I saw like this black thing when I was asleep. And I was going to get ready for school. My mom would do this thing where she would turn on the TV really loud so I could wake up. And when I woke up, I saw this big, black, massive thing. And to me, it was demonic. It was just completely black, but I still felt it looking at me, if that makes sense. And I just got scared. And I even questioned myself, am I really asleep? I wasn't. And I just felt it getting closer and closer to me, and I could not move. I couldn't yell. I couldn't do anything. And I was like, if I yell, my mom will come in. If I hit my head on the wall, she'll come in, she'll hear it. But it was on me, and it seemed like forever, probably a few minutes. And I was just so scared. All I could do was like close my eyes, and pray or something. I was so scared. And after a while, I got up, I ran, and I couldn't even talk after that for like the whole day. I was just so scared. And there was no way my mom or anyone else was going to convince me it was like, a dream after that, basically. Yeah.
So that sounds like your first full-on realization. When did you start using it in a way to try to channel it, or when did you realize that you could use it in a more positive direction to channel it or to?
Well, I always say this, how I articulate my life. I was a child,
Mm-hmm.
and then I turned 12 years old. Okay. And I know you're still a child when you're 12, but it was literally like day and night. Like I'm a kid playing, and then I'm 12, and it's kind of like I start remembering things. So that's what got me into all the divinations as well, because it was like I was remembering them. And me and my best friend, then we would do ghost investigations the best way we could as kids. We'd go to little cemeteries and stuff and make little Ouija boards out of wood pallets and make our own tarot cards out of paper, like literally paper, because there was no way we can get them, being kids and whatnot. And we'd just do work there. We'd like do our own little stuff, and would try to do little seances and whatnot. So, I mean, it was like from 12 till now, and I'm 36. So it's been a hot minute.
Okay.
So have you ever connected with a person who was actually really bad themselves, or you saw something really bad in their future?
Someone who was like a bad person, not a nice person?
Yeah.
Yes. And I was just like, you feel it instantly and you just want to get away from this. Well, at least I do. I want to get away from them right away. Very negative, toxic energy.
Okay.
So you don't try to further connect with them at all? Like if you're doing a reading for someone and they end up being bad?
No, that's a different thing. If that's someone who comes to me because they feel something's wrong with them versus someone who's actually a nasty, negative person, I don't want to be around someone who's a mean person. You know what I mean? But like, say, for instance, you see, I feel something, can you help me? Then that's a different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm less experienced in a lot of these areas, and for the audience, from what I understand, you practice divination, you're intuitive medium, and you're into paranormal investigation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What would you say is the connection between all these things, and are they the same or are they different areas?
They're not the same, but there is parallel. That's why it was so easy to just kind of bleed into both of them, basically at the same time, because everything's divination. It's funny because people always give like the Ouija board a bad name. Oh, you're going to open portals, and everything's a divination. Tarot is a divination. Oracle's a divination. Shell reading is a divination. Ouija board's a divination. It's all divination, but different ways. Okay. And a Ouija board, you could possibly open portals, but I mean, it's with everything else too. And as far as investigations, like paranormal investigations, to me, they bleed in together because I use them to communicate as well. And that's something I had never seen before. I've seen paranormal investigators go do investigations with equipment, of course, and even the Ouija board, which is cool. One of my good friends does it, and it's awesome. However, I don't like doing those with the Ouija board because it leaves it up for interpretation. People will say, oh, she moved the board. She manipulated the board. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't, people might say that. And I don't want there to be a shadow of a doubt that I manipulated anything. So that's why I'll do the equipment, and then I'll do a reading on the location with like tarot or shells or bones. Obviously, I can't do all of them on a house. I can't do a palmistry on a house or a tea leaf reading on a house, or maybe that one I could possibly. But, so I kind of use them together, and that's how I do my investigations as well.
Okay.
So how much of what you do relies on belief? Like, does the person you're helping, do they have to believe in what you're doing in order for you to help them?
They don't have to believe, but it makes it a whole lot easier. I've had clients, and which is really funny because they want to go in kind of with a wall up, and that's fine. I understand. I would keep my guard up with psychics and mediums myself. I completely understand, trust me. But the way I see it, you're paying me for a service. Wouldn't you want as much detail as possible that I can get? you know,
Yeah.
without you telling me anything. Like, I don't need you, and I always tell them, I don't need you to tell me anything, because that's another way you can find out if somebody's a fake or phony. They start like asking you, you know, baiting you for information, like, are you married, or you know what I mean? I don't need
Yeah.
you to tell me anything. I just need you to have your wall down and just say, yes, it resonates. And then when we're done with the reading, we'll put the pictures together, you know, the puzzles together, and you're like, yeah, okay, this really did happen. Okay, great. That's why this, this, or that. So, yeah, that's what I like to do. But I don't know.
I wanted to ask you another question about the Ouija board. You know, you said you don't like using it also because people try to like interpret it their own way. Do you think that it might be more difficult to use because people have this perception of the Ouija board based on horror movies, so they let that color their experience, or they go out looking for dark energy sometimes when they're using that form?
Yes, I think it gets a really, really bad name. And like I said, I have friends who use it, one in particular who's very good at it. It's just, me personally, like I said, I don't want a viewer or somebody outside who thinks that I was able to manipulate it, because truth be told, you can manipulate it. Let's be real. You know, and you could say, oh, no, it was the spirit. But I think it does get a bad name because of the horror movies. You know, it really does.
Okay.
So I'm curious of exactly how you communicate with spirits. I know you pick up on the intuition, you pick up on the energy, but do you ever directly communicate with one, like you hear its voice in your head and you answer it?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And how often does that happen?
Whenever it wants. I mean, honestly, I wish I had more control over it, but it just happens when it happens. A lot of the times, like I said, it's not only they show up physically, sometimes it's just like pictures that I know. Okay, and so I'll ask somebody, okay, there's somebody here, and do you know this lady? Because I'll get like a picture of a comforter or something, and it was their comforter or whatever. A real quick story if you want to hear it. This girl I knew on Facebook, I never met her, but she was my friend on Facebook, and she had a sister who she was very close with. And unfortunately, the sister passed away. I've never met the sister, right? And I had a dream that night of them being in her bedroom. I saw the comforter. They were sitting down, eating snacks, straightening hair, laughing. I could see the back of me looking at them. And then another part where I saw them, they were in a car. The younger sister that passed away jumps in the back, and they're arguing. And I'm like, why are they arguing? I know they were very close. I see her open the door, and she's pulling her out. The other one's picking her. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I kind of felt scared to tell her what I drowned, because people do come to me also in dreams if they're about to pass away or they just did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be disrespectful, but I was like, no, I was being pushed. So I told her. And then she said, I was watching this medium show last night, and I was praying, please let me know somebody who does this so I can like communicate with my sister. And her sister came to me that night. So I told her everything, and she's like, yes, my sister was always bugging me to let her straighten my hair. Yes, that's my comforter. Yes, we're always eating snacks on the bed. And I was like, okay, good. But I didn't want to tell the second part because I felt weird. I was like, okay, she's going to really think I'm crazy. But then I felt spirit tell her anyway. So, okay. She didn't respond till way later. And I was like, okay, she's really going to think I'm a nut job. And she messages me, and she says that it really did happen. Her sister and her were going to go to the store. Her sister was wearing shorts, but she hadn't shaved her legs, so she didn't want to get off. So she jumps in the back, and the sister opens the door, and she's trying to kick her off and, you know, get her to go in the door. So they weren't really fighting. And I was like, okay, good. You see, to me, I just get the messages. I don't know everything. You know, it's your story. So to me, I'm like, you guys are fighting, but they were, you know, playing or whatever. And yeah, but that was pretty intense.
Wow.
Would you describe what you have as a gift, or has it ever been a burden on you at any point?
I wouldn't say it was a burden.
Okay.
I'm like someone who likes being prepared, and I like to know what's going to happen. So to me, it's never been a burden.
Okay.
So I know that people that aren't mediums can have paranormal experiences.
Absolutely.
But do you think that someone who's not a medium would be able to communicate with the other side if they concentrated enough, or do you have to be a medium?
Honestly, I think they could.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some mediums mad at me because I'm, but I think I'm never gonna lie, guys. So yes, I think they could.
Would you say what you do is a form of parapsychology, or do you consider parapsychologists separate from mediums?
Well, to me, I feel like you knowing a person or knowing how psychology works and stuff, people can also kind of manipulate that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Again,
Yeah.
I feel kind of iffy about those kind of things, only because I don't want someone to doubt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you leave that door open, it's going to leave doubt. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like parapsychologists have a lot of theories about what they think might be going on, and I think mediums might tune into what's actually happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the mediums actually see it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
And many of them all their lives. And some people, they don't tap into it till they're much older in life, and they weren't even aware that they had a gift. I think everybody has a gift. I think everyone does, but some people are just more in tune and more open to it.
Mhm. What what would you say to people who are skeptical of what you do, to try to like ease them into like, say if you want to give them a reading or something and they're skeptical, what would you tell somebody to try to ease them into the mind state?
Well, me personally, like I said earlier, I don't blame them
Okay.
because there is a lot of people who, are scamming you for 3 reasons. One, because they want to get money out of you, and that's the truth. The
Mm.
second one, because they want attention. The third was because they want to get some sort of recognition where they can get like land a show or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't blame them. That's why when I talk to them, for me personally, I talk to them, right, whatever, and then I just tell them, like, don't tell me anything. I don't need you to tell me anything, like I told you earlier. I encourage them not to tell me anything. And then, I think that puts them at ease, and also me not asking them questions, because that's people baiting. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think right after that, after they're like, okay. I had one client in all this time that was a little kind of like, I could tell they were upset with what I'm saying. And I can't always give everybody good news. I wish I could, but I can't. And if you pay me for a service, I'm going to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like
Yeah.
lying. I'm sorry. Like, this is the truth. And she called me the very next day, and she's like, everything you said was true. Oh my God. And I was like, okay. But that was probably like a rough reading, because I could feel her energy getting upset. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, every time I've seen psychics or mediums on some kind of show or something, they're always baiting. They're always asking, they're always rattling off names until somebody, oh yeah, I know somebody by that name, yeah.
Have you ever
But when you done my reading, you just asked if there was anything bothering me at all, or if anything was on my mind. And I briefly told you a couple things about myself. And after that, you kind of just went off. And it wasn't like you were saying a bunch of things and one or two things rang true. It's literally everything that came out of your mouth rang true. That's why I thought this
Thank you,
girl
Michael.
is,
I appreciate that.
yeah, this girl is the real deal, because there wasn't anything that you said that could be remotely.
She's not just a random crazy bitch.
Yeah.
have you ever counted ones that somebody that you thought was a fraud posing as a medium?
Oh my goodness.
I'm guessing yes, but you don't want to name.
I will not name. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus. But like I said.
Okay.
We're going to discuss 3 movies this week, 3 mediums that are in horror films. We got Oda Mae Brown from Ghost, Tangina from Poltergeist,
Yes.
and Elise from Insidious. So which of these feels the most authentic to you? Not necessarily the movies themselves, but the characters.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I love all of them.
Yeah.
Authentic to me, okay. Elise was great, but I really like the part where when Whoopi Goldberg, first she's a phony, but after she first sees Patrick Swayze in Ghost, then all the other spirits come. Do y'all remember? And they're all in the room.
Yeah.
That part seemed more realistic to me, and how one of them jumped in the lady's body and stuff like that. That was more, although, you know, it's cheesy, but that's kind of more how it goes, sort of, for me at least.
One of the interesting things about Oda Mae Brown is that her character starts off as a fraud, who's
Yeah.
like, and then she taps into an actual gift. Do you think do you think that ever happens? People who pose as psychic mediums eventually become it, or they tap into something because they play with this world so much that eventually, if you actually have the gift, they're going to tap into it?
If they actually have it, then yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, if they're also using divination work, that also helps you. You know what I mean? Versus someone just saying, "Oh, I'm lying to you straight up that I'm seeing something." But if they were to use divination work, I think that would also help them kind of open themselves up more to it, and perhaps they might even have a spiritual growth from faking it the whole time, and now they kind of know things.
Well, I thought a lot about how much each of these characters rang true to me, and overall, I think Elise is the one that felt the most realistic as far as everything that went on. But
Yeah.
as far as the one that felt like she was a medium, I thought Zelda Rubenstein that played Tangina, I thought she's the one that felt like a medium the most, and come to find out she is a real life medium.
I love her.
She is awesome.
Yes.
So Whoopi Goldberg actually won the Best Actress Oscar for her role as Oda Mae Brown.
Oh.
And did you notice that the beginning of Ghost is kind of like Insidious, with the big large font that comes up and the big score hit? Not quite as big as Insidious, but a big score hit followed by the ominous music. I thought it was very similar at the beginning. And then the first act of Ghost is completely solid, I thought. Well written, witty, emotional. I felt real. You got the iconic pottery scene with the Unchained Melody playing.
Yeah. One of the best songs ever.
Yeah. And I love that it had a woman asking a man to marry her, and then followed by the iconic death scene. And then it gets a bit dated after that, and more of the comedy comes in, but I still think it's a solid film. But what do you think about when they show the spirits that never passed on hanging out in the hospital, a graveyard, subway? So what do you think of that depiction? And also, do you consider the one in the subway to be a poltergeist?
Well, poltergeist, remember, it's a German word, means noise, you know, so noisy ghost. He could possibly, I mean, he's upset, so he's moving things around, you know what I mean? That is technically a poltergeist. So there's one. But some spirits do tend to stick around, you know? That's why we have spirits, ghosts, and they don't move forward to me either because they don't know that they passed on. Because I mean, some people just passed, you know, like Patrick Swayze just ran away. He didn't know that he was till he saw himself. With Demi, you know, other one, I think they're scared of the consequences. Maybe they weren't the best person in life, and they're scared of what happens next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you think that spirits actually hang out in graveyards like that, though? I think that might be
really.
the last place.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I always say this. I'm like, everyone says, oh my God, graveyards are no, they're not. I think they're quite beautiful. I like going and I like, you know, taking pictures and stuff. But do I think they're haunted? You'll find something here or there. You will. But no, hospitals, definitely. Abandoned buildings. You know, things like that. Those are the most haunted, I think.
Okay. I have another question for you about Ghost. There's an interesting scene in there where Patrick Swayze enters the body of Whoopi Goldberg so he can dance with Demi Moore one last time so he could dance with his wife. Is this something that you've ever either experienced, or do you know of the ability for a ghost to enter your body and possess you like that?
I've had it happen to me just a handful of times, and I did not like it. I fought it.
Did you
But
have
it
to invite that in, or can it just happen? Do you have to like open yourself up?
sometimes it can just come in, like someone who is not very experienced or isn't experienced, and say you go somewhere that's like a very haunted, something can do that to you. That's why sometimes people start acting weird. It's just that ugly negative energy you're taking on, or if it was a negative energy, or if not, your voice can change, your mannerisms, stuff like that.
How did it feel with your experiences with it? How would you describe it, or what didn't you like about it?
Just the unknown of it, to be honest. But for instance, the one that really stuck out was I was doing videos, because I was doing some YouTube videos, and of course I was doing it with the divination, and then I started feeling really weird, and I kept seeing like a man. I could not tell if he was African American or like kind of Indian or something, but he was staring at me like this, and I don't know if it was staring at me like I'm upset, or staring at me like being confused, like what are you? How can you see me, kind of thing. And I kept seeing it, and then I start hearing, like, I'm trying to do my videos, and my voice starts changing, and it's like, and it's really weird. And I got freaked out about it. I turned off the video. I got up, and then I saw it again, and then I just stopped. It was really weird. That was probably the creepiest.
So
I don't
that
know.
one sounds like it was involuntary. Have you ever voluntarily allowed a spirit into yourself?
Not really, no. No.
You mentioned that it rang true when all the spirits would come and gather around Oda Mae when they found out that she was that she had these abilities. So does the things like that happen to you? Like how does that happen? Do spirits communicate with others and tell them, oh, there's this chick over here that can talk to us?
Basically, no, they feel it. When I was little, almost every place we moved, and we moved a lot, I would pick up something there. And I'm like thinking in my head, even then, I was like, damn, every place we live is haunted. What a coinkydink. And then I got older, I was like, wait a minute. No, they feel you. And the way I always articulate it is, say you're like at a barbecue and you're with family and your wife, husband, whatever, and then you just have a heart attack and you just, you pass away right there. You see yourself and you're trying to get a hold of your family, and no one sees your body, your dead body, your spirit. So then you run outside hoping that you see somebody or someone can see you. Nobody. Then we lock eyes and you're like, bitch, I know you can see me. And then they're like, trying to get my attention and stuff like that. So, they can have that.
Okay.
That's how I feel. And then if one sees it, I kind of feel, to be honest, is like, in a sense, they do call each other, because that's kind of draining more of your energy, where you have no choice but to acknowledge it. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see. You notice how Patrick Swayze realizes that she can hear him, so he's desperate for her to help him and communicate with the living, and she doesn't believe him. She has a lot of resistance. So do you ever have to experience anything like that, where you get a message and then the person you're delivering that message to doesn't want to hear it?
Fortunately, I haven't, and I'm happy about that, because I'm always kind of scared of something like that too. Like, who am I to go up to people and tell them, you know what I'm saying? But fortunately, especially if someone who just passed away, I feel like such a jerk. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna think ill of me. They're gonna think I'm like, I don't want anything from you. I'm just trying to tell you what I saw. I don't think I want money. I don't want nothing. Here's the message. I feel better just telling you whatever you want to take from it, if anything, or call me crazy. That's fine, but I did my part.
Okay. All right, so then we're going to move on to Tangina from Poltergeist, Zelda Rubenstein. She filmed her part in 6 days, and she became an icon after this, but mostly just for this movie. The movie was nominated for 2 Oscars, but this one was for visual effects and score. Both lost to E.T., Steven Spielberg's other movie.
Do you connect with this character on a personal level?
Yes, my mom, her and Whoopi Goldberg, they would always call me Whoopi when I was little. From my family would make fun of me, but also say I was Tangina because I'm little and I do that stuff. I'm 5'1". I'm a person McNugget. So they're like, you're the little lady there. I was like,
Who do you feel is more accurate between the two that we discussed, Oda Mae Brown in Ghost or Tangina Barons in Poltergeist? What do you feel is a little bit more accurate or gets closer to what your experiences with the paranormal have been like?
I don't know. They both they both do, but in different ways. Like I told him earlier with the whole, like the spirits trying to like get your attention, that is true. You don't see all of them, but you do feel them coming at you. You know what I mean? But we also Tangina did a great job as well. So it's a bit of both, to be honest.
There's a lot of similarities between Poltergeist and Insidious, but I also like the little differences. Like with Tangina, she was brought in by the parapsychologist when it was too much for them. Like they said, this is way over our heads. We're scared shitless. We're bringing in someone who knows what they're talking about. But in Insidious, the paranormal researchers went in preemptively to make sure that it was real, and then they call in the medium. Does it ever happen like that?
Yes, because they want to make sure the person's legit and they're not just crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's happened before. There's this particular group where they would call people in and they thought that they would lie to us, saying that they thought the place was haunted, but they just wanted you to go over. You know what I mean? So
okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
You gotta be careful.
Just judging by this movie, do you feel that parapsychologists know the right questions, but the mediums have the answers?
I mean, I guess that's fair. That's fair.
Because the doctor, Dr. Lesh, did seem to know a lot. I love her line where she says, "I feel like the proto-human coming out of the forest primeval and seeing the moon for the first time and throwing rocks at it." Like she had studied it for so long, but she'd never felt
couldn't feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have another question. This relates to Poltergeist and Insidious. Insidious, when Elise starts to talk about the concept of the further, where they have to go and to rescue their son because he's an astral traveler, because he's kind of stepped out into another realm. There's something similar to that in Poltergeist where the daughter kind of gets lost in another realm. I don't believe they give it a name in Poltergeist. If they did, I didn't catch it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but it seems more or less like it's the same concept in Insidious, like the idea of the further. Have you ever had any experience with something like that, or something that you would call the further, for lack of a better word?
I mean, I do astral project, but I've never, from what I remember, going into anything that was negative.
Okay.
Myself personally.
Okay, but let's say it was a positive thing. Have you ever had the experience of like entering another realm like the two children do in each of these movies? Not necessarily a negative realm.
No, I guess I would not. The way you're saying it, then it would be a no.
Okay. Do you think that something like that exists that we can't see?
Yes.
Okay.
There's another similarity I thought was interesting between Tangina and Elise. They both have these huge speeches that explain everything that's going on with, this other plane. So I think both of them nail it pretty much. But Tangina, I think it's her true connection. What she really is. I think what pulls you in. She feels genuine. But with Elise, I think it's just as effective, but I think it's because of Lin Shaye's acting. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So are you suggesting that Tangina, the actress, seems a little, Zelda Rubenstein, I believe, seems a little bit more experienced in the role in terms of being authentic, but Lin Shaye just acts it really well, are you saying, Michael?
Yeah, because they both say a lot of the same things, just in a completely different ways. Like Tangina says, there's no death, there's only transition to a different sphere of consciousness, which is what Elise is saying, but she's calling it the further. And she addresses the souls who are attracted to the energy, and then they follow that up by addressing the sinister entity that comes into it all.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I have a question. Earlier you mentioned that you're an empath. I have a couple questions regarding to that. Can you explain what that means to be an empath?
Well, there's being sympathetic, where you sympathize with someone, and then empathetic is you actually take on the emotions of the person. Like you could walk by somebody, total stranger, and even though they're not showing that they look sad, you know, because maybe they're putting a poker face and one looks sad in public, but you pass by them and you instantly feel how they're feeling. And usually it's more when it's a negative thing, because it just feels stronger.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Versus, okay, this person's really happy. It's more like, oh, why are they so sad? Or what? It just feels weird.
Do you think
Kind of
negative emotions are easier to pick up onto or latch onto than positive ones?
Yes, I do. I think it gets your attention more, for sure.
Okay, so you describe yourself as an empath. Do you think that aspect of your personality is important to you, being an intuitive medium? Do you think it might be harder for somebody to kind of tap into that ability if they're not an empath, or if they don't possess that kind of empathy for other people?
I mean, well, look, there's narcissists and they lack empathy. You know what I mean? So if you're not, you can be sympathetic, then I guess I would say more so than an empath.
Because what I liked about Elise's character, at least what I got off of it, is that she seemed like she was a very empathetic person. Like she seemed like there was something about her that seemed like she deeply cared about this family and everything that was around her, and getting to the bottom of it. Where Tangina, she seemed like she cared, but it seemed more like a mission for her. Like this was her mission and she was sent here to do it. Whereas Elise, to me, feels like she wants to do it because she wants to help people.
She's, Zelda did seem a little standoffish or a little harsh.
Yeah, just a little bit more. Yeah.
She did. But no, Elise, I think she totally operated by heart. And Tangina, yeah. But I think Tangina did care too as well. I love her. I can't say nothing bad.
Who do you relate to more?
Between them two is definitely Elise.
Elise, so that's closer to your approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think of the scene?
I don't know. Let's ask Mr. Pickle. That's a question for him.
What do you think of the scene when Tangina's the famous scene, cross over children, all are welcome, go toward the light.
Carolyn.
So, do you ever do anything like, is there a light? Do you ever encourage the spirits to go into it?
Yes, when we've been places and I felt, depending on the energy, how it felt, I would encourage them to move forward or try to move forward. But there's certain energies that you are not ever going to be able to help. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth.
There's one thing about that in particular that I always wondered about since I watched it as a kid. Why does Tangina tell Carol Ann to stay away from the light at all costs? So then why does she then tell her to, because that confuses the parents too, because they're like, no, you told her to stay away from the light. And then she starts telling her to go into it. Do you know? Well,
kind of like, you know how, like with the movie Annabelle, how first it started off pretending it was like a child, but it was really something bad. It'd probably be something similar like that, but in a different dynamic. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
Because in past and also spirits who do, it really does happen. They pretend they're a little kid or whatever, and they're really, it's not even a spirit. It's actually a demon. And there is a difference. You will feel that right away.
Poltergeist is actually one of the first films to feature EVPs. So how much and it's really the only film out of the three that explored that. First of all, were the EVPs, did that feel authentic to you, and how much do you deal with those?
Well, especially for its time. I mean, for its time, yeah. I mean, we do use them, the voice boxes, and you will pick stuff up. And it's happened where not only we've asked a question, but I've drawn a card or something, and then it has said it, or said my name. It said Moon Girl. It didn't just say Sarah. It actually said it has some intelligence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people use them for sure. That's one of the main equipment they use. You know, the EVPs or oh, I forgot the one we were using. Forgot the name of it. We just used it recently. I'm sorry, I forgot. But yeah, they are. We do use them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like is it like a spirit box where it has that sound and it's sweeping all the sound frequencies in the air?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay.
Okay. So you're a fan of all three of these films.
You gonna make me choose?
Huh?
You're gonna make me choose my favorite?
No, I'm not gonna make you choose your favorite. I was gonna ask you, is there anything that any of these movies that that you would say is maybe not inaccurate, or if it were up to you, the things that you would change to make it a little bit more accurate, or is there anything that you picked up on this where maybe they've got things off or a little wrong with regards to the actual experiences?
It was kind of funny how she came out of the roof when they came out of the roof in Poltergeist. But no, I mean, they were okay. I think they were, for its time and the understanding of it. It was all right. It was kind of accurate, you know. Going into something else, but I've never been in there before myself, so into other portals like that.
Okay, so I have a question to you related to this. You're also an actress. Yeah, would you be interested in perhaps playing a medium on film, a medium like one of these characters? And if so, what would you try to bring to the role?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to just play that. I don't want to get pigeonholed into that, but you know, and that also will take kind of like, I don't know, people might not believe you're really a medium if you keep playing it on, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, she's an actress, she researched this or that. So I wouldn't want to do only that, but I would do some. It'd be fun. Actually, in some of the stuff I'm going to be in, I'm supposed to play like a curandera and like a gypsy in another one and stuff like that. So why not?
Okay.
So as far as Poltergeist goes, I know you've probably heard that it was cursed and everything. I personally don't think it was a cursed film, but Zelda Rubenstein and JoBeth Williams both had paranormal experiences where JoBeth Williams, every time she would go home after a day of working on the set, all the pictures in her house would be shifted. They would be crooked. She would straighten them all up. They'd be fine. She'd go back the next day to the set and she'd come back home and they'd be crooked. And then Zelda, she had a vision. Her dog came to her and said goodbye to her. And then just a couple hours later, her mother called her and told her that her dog died. So do you think that making an authentic paranormal film could access other dimensions like that and bring stuff like that into the actor's life?
I think it could be a possibility, because they did bring in, I believe he was a real shaman, the Native American man, wasn't he? I think he was.
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
And I mean, come on, they know what they're doing. And then, like there were real bodies in the pool, in the mud with the lady, the mom. Those were actually turned out to be real bodies. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe that could have brought some energy as well. I mean,
do you think?
So, but you don't think that caused any of the bad things that happened, right? The deaths.
I think they were really good coincidences.
We're just gonna go into Elise from Insidious. We talked about her a little bit. Of course, this made Lynn Shay a horror icon. She had been in, a bit part in Nightmare on Elm Street in the '80s, but this what really put her on the map in horror. Similar setup to Poltergeist, but I believe we already asked, if you think this one gets more of the details right. I mean, this one doesn't go as outrageous as the other two, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, but she did do a really good job, and it is fairly accurate, to be honest.
The story is heavily about astral projection. What are your thoughts on astral projection, and do you do it?
Yes. A lot of people do. You may just not know, unbeknownst to you, when you're sleeping, and it just happens. And I do believe people astral project and anywhere in the world, basically, I feel. And then you come back.
So I just want to make this just to clear this. So astral projection is the idea that you're like leaving your body and you're kind of like discovering. Okay, so have you ever heard of the concept of lucid dreaming?
Yes.
Do you think that's what lucid dreaming might be? Because
Maybe for some people, but
okay,
no. Do I believe? Yes, because I've done it,
okay, all right.
and I know people who've done it, and I've literally woke up in between it feeling like I was pulled out and I had to pull myself back down.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's true.
Do you
Absolutely.
think that people, what I should rephrase that, do you think that people who maybe are who believe they're lucid dreaming are actually astral projecting because they're talking about being able to control?
That's kind of more of a possibility that way. Yes, if you put it, if you flip it around, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay.
So can a medium guide you through astral projection?
I'm pretty sure she can. A really good one.
Do you want to transition now into asking questions about your actual experiences?
Personal ones?
Yeah, your personal experiences.
Some really creepy ones. I had this caterpillar toy when my son was a baby, and I'm sure you've seen it. It just says the ABCs and like 1 through 10 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my son was really, really small, and that thing would go off constantly by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And back then we had entertainment centers. We had like a 6-foot one, and I'm only 5'1".
Mm-hmm.
I told somebody to put it up there because it just kept going off, and it would go off constantly. We took the batteries out; it went off constantly.
Mm-hmm.
The alarms, the fire alarms, were going off constantly. We told the manager, and they're like, "Those are new, but you want us to replace them?" Yes, didn't matter. That was creepy. We also had this potty. Again, my son was gonna learn how to potty train. He hasn't even used it yet. It's brand new. It's supposed to sing whenever you go to the bathroom. It would sing all the time, whenever it wanted to. It was really creepy. And I'd be like, please, not while I'm in the shower. And it was just really in the middle of the night, all the time. Another really creepy thing that I always tell people, because this is probably one of the creepiest things. I wouldn't let my son go into the restroom with me because he was little, so I didn't want him to fall into the toilet or something. So I closed the door, and he would cry and cry and cry until I came out. So I would hear their dad come in, and I thought he was at work, and he would talk to him, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, the baby stopped crying, shower, maybe came for lunch or whatever, and we're having a full-on conversation, and then I get out of the shower, he's not there. I'm like, well, maybe they went outside, not there. Okay, well, I'll wait. Came back from work. So did you come for lunch? Nope, I was never there. And this thing was taking on his voice. It was smart. It was replying to me. It got my son to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the other way around too, because I had to go to another town, and a few hours away actually. And he'd be in the shower, talking to me, having a full conversation. And I'm answering it again, and then go out there, I'm not there, where are you? I'm like, we're still like an hour away, so that was really creepy.
A lot of times when we talk about like the paranormal or anything like that, I think it has to do, obviously we're a horror movie podcast, I think it has a lot to do with horror and horror movies. People try to like associate it with something either negative or evil or malevolent. Have you had good experiences with whether it's a divination or a tarot card reading or positive energy from a spirit, or what are, I would say, your most positive experiences with what you deal with?
Well, like when they come through, like a spirit comes through who's passed away and who wants like to tell somebody I'm doing a reading for this or that, and it resonates with them, and they get really happy that they were connected with them, and that makes me really happy.
Okay.
So to me, that's, it's probably the best feeling. I mean, imagine you're mourning the loss of someone you really loved, and just to have that little glimpse to feeling them, that's
it's like a comfort for people who feel it kind
of
gives
it's a comfort for people,
assurance.
and it makes me happy, so I could just imagine how it makes them feel.
I went to investigate this supposed haunted asylum in Downey, Rancho Dominguez. I went to explore it, and there was a lot of orbs floating around there. There was growling in the basement, and we couldn't find anything in the basement. So when I got home, I felt like a black cloud over me, like just overwhelming dread. So dreadful that I felt I was going to die or someone around me was going to die very soon. I came home that night and my daughter was asleep with my wife in our bed. So I went to sleep in my daughter's bed. I woke up the next morning and it was voices around my head that woke me up. So I sat up in bed, fully awake, and I could still hear the voices all around my head, all around my bed. So when I laid down on the bed and closed my eyes, I saw people sitting around all around the table, and I was laying on top of a table. Now, these were people that were dead and also people in my life that were alive, and they were discussing why I should be committed, why I should be put in an asylum. They were saying certain things in my life and putting a negative spin on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like almost like it was inside me. So then I was trying to talk to these voices and tell them to stop. And my wife hears me. She comes in the room. What's going on? So she sits next to me on the bed, and I could not hear her talking because the voices were louder than hers. So she said, I don't know what else to do. I'm going to go get a Bible. She left the room, and I tried to close my eyes, and there were demons in front of my face with a black background. It looked like the further in Insidious, just completely blackness behind them. But they were the most grotesque, wet, nasty-looking black-eyed demons with big, huge, jagged teeth. And one of them was on each side of me. So then I stood up, and before my wife came in the room, I stood up, and sat up. I sat up in the bed, and I opened my eyes, and they were sitting next to me on the bed so they went from being in my head with a black background behind them to all of a sudden sitting in my space, sitting next to me on the bed, screaming and growling in my ear. And when my wife walked in with the Bible, everything stopped, all the voices, the demons, and I've never seen anything like that since.
I think you definitely brought something back. I think
So
something had attached to you.
Is it possible that it could be still with me? Because
did you ever try to give yourself like a cleansing or something?
Yeah.
It only kept it at bay for a bit?
Yeah, because something happened 10 years after this happened. My mom was dying, and she was in the hospital bed, and she was scared to death of me. And she wouldn't even say what it was at first. She just didn't want me in the room. She was scared. And then when they finally got her to talk, she said that people came to her. She's seen them just like it was real people. And they put a videotape on the TV and showed her me killing people and maiming them and hurting them. And she took all kinds of blood, and she started saying the same kind of things that people were saying on the bed when I was on the bed that day, and I heard those voices. So is there any way it could have gotten to my mom?
I don't know if it got to your mom per se, but she could have, maybe because she was really sick, she could have had the milk into her and she was able to see something. I don't feel like it got to her, but maybe she was able to see.
Mm-hmm. That makes me feel a lot better, because I was really scared that it got to my mom somehow.
No, well, if you're like in the in-between stages, you're like in between worlds, literally. You're like here and there. Like my aunt too, she was very sick and she was about to pass away, and she said she would see this and that, and we just wouldn't along with it because she's passing away or whatever. But there were certain things she had said and they were true, and she wouldn't have known because she had been in the hospital for quite some time. So yeah.
Do you have any religious beliefs?
Well, I grew up very Catholic. I'm from South Texas, so my whole family, I mean, the majority of us here are like Hispanic or Mexican, so it's Catholic. What I did like was my grandma used to tell me stories of saints when I was little, and I was always really curious, like, why were they a saint? What made them a saint? So I kind of like that, but I'm not religious at all, not whatsoever.
Not religious at all. Okay.
And I do believe there's a higher being. What exactly it is, I don't know, but I believe that there's something out there.
Yeah, I mean, belief in a higher power doesn't really denote
Yeah.
a specific religion or ideological belief. So, if you personally don't believe in religion, but do you think that I'd say religious figures can help in certain situations, even maybe say if you don't believe in their religion, do you think maybe a priest might be able to tap into something in your opinion? Or somebody who's of a religious standing? Because Michael, you also mentioned the Bible in your story.
Yeah.
I mean, have I prayed before to certain things or whatever? Yeah, I don't know if it's more like a placebo effect or just you really manifesting yourself, the power of manifestation, or if it's really a religious thing. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
So
because
I think
the power of manifestation is extremely strong. You know, believing that it is done or this is, you know, you're doing something. It's a very powerful thing.
do you want to talk a little bit about any of your acting projects coming up or your paranormal investigations?
I'm gonna go to, I believe it's some haunted house and it has a haunted basement and they sleep in coffins. So I'm going to do a live there sometime, probably the next month or so. And I don't know how much I can talk about it, but that's something I'm really looking forward to. I have a couple of projects lined up, but you know it's been difficult because of the corona, so we're hoping that those get picked up. There'd be maybe a few sitcoms coming my way and little movie roles here and there. But again, I can't really say everything until I'm
Okay.
able to. Yeah, but
Any acting projects coming up?
Anything you can talk about? Nothing?
Yeah, anything.
there's one we're gonna do. It's called Something Foul, and it's supposed to be the very first sitcom here where I'm from, and it's supposed to be funny. And well, it is funny, but we're just waiting for the okay to go forward whenever everyone's able to get together. I have another one called. It's kind of like a parody, kind of the Real Housewives. It's the Real Housewives of Little Mexico.
Okay.
And we're supposed to play like cholas and stuff like that. This is one horror movie that we're hoping to get off the ground. The Chusa, that's another one, and definitely more paranormal investigations all over very soon, and within the next few months, like quite a few of them. And then what else we're gonna do? Trying to think. Another personal one of just it's gonna be done just by like maybe 4 people, 5, 6. A very small short I want to work on called The Trail. Hopefully we can get that going sometime soon.
So you have your hand in the production of these too as well, not just acting?
Yes.
Would you like to leave anything for anybody to follow you on, or any social media for anybody
Yeah,
to
I
follow
have
you?
my personal Facebook like page, Moon Girl Tarot and More. It has my face as a profile because I had some old ones that were hacked, so don't get confused with those. My YouTube, Moon Girl Tarot and More, and the Instagram, same name, Moon Girl Tarot and More.
Okay, perfect. And we'll put links to everything, to all of those in the podcast description as well.
So if anybody wants to have a reading or anything like that, or even a paranormal investigation, then they would just contact you on your Facebook, on your social media? Okay.
Totally.
Keep following us. We're going to be back next week with an interview of the director of Fried Berry. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Pickles Horror Show, and on Instagram @Pickles Horror Show. Also, follow us on our Flow page because that gives you links to everywhere that the podcast is available and all of our social media. And we're going to put a link to the Flow page in the description of the podcast as well. Well, till next week, folks, happy
Happy horror.